G'day, my name's Gordon Dedman and welcome to another episode of Bushcraft Survival. In today's episode we're going to be having a look at a couple of different ways of sourcing water from the environment when there is no apparent visible water source. The first method we're going to have a look at is the transpiration bag method. Now, in order to use a transpiration bag, we need a clear plastic bag. It needs to be clear because if it's not, plants need sunlight for photosynthesis, so a dark plastic bag will not work. It needs to be clear. We also need to select a tree that is north facing because in the southern hemisphere, below the Tropic of Capricorn, the sun moves from right to left in the northern part of the sky. So we need sunlight for as much of the day as we can, direct sunlight. If it's in shade or if it's overcast, this method doesn't work so well. So we need direct sunlight. So I've found a tree. In this case, it's a young eucalypt sapling, and all eucalypts or gums and acacias or wattles are great for this method in Australia because they're widespread and common. They're found everywhere, and the water you obtain from them is drinkable straight off the bat. So it requires not a lot of energy to do this, and nature does the work for you. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this small gum sapling, I'm going to prepare it, we're going to tie it down, we're going to put our plastic bag over the top, and we'll have a look at how that works. So what I've done, I've tied down our sapling so that I can access the branches more easily. I've taken away any of the dead sticks because I don't want anything sharp that's going to puncture our bag. So that's tied down to a log here. It's quite a large sapling, so it should give us a pretty good yield. And I've selected a branch, it's quite a bushy branch. We want as much surface area with the leaves as possible. So it's really important to take that bit of extra time to make a good selection as far as what tree you're going to use or the branch you're going to use. What I need to do now is I'm going to tie all these off together to create like a hose pipe effect. So I get as many of the branches nice and close together so they take up less room in the bag, and it just is going to make it easier for me to put the bag on. So I've just got some bank line, I'm just going to tie that up. Just a thumb knot on the bite at one end, and then I'll just wrap it round. That's all you need, something nice and simple. And I'm just going to get these all in one group together. Any more dead branches, I'm just going to get rid of. What I've also done is given the branch a bit of a shake just to get rid of any ants and spiders, and also to get rid of as many dead leaves as possible because we don't want those dropping into the bag. So that's contained as a nice manageable clump of leaves now, and now I can go ahead and put our bag on. Now the bag I'm using is one of our Bushcraft Survival Australia clear transpiration bags. For a long time it was frustrating trying to get any, so this includes the survival bags, trying to get unpleated bags in Australia. It's just very difficult. So this is unpleated which means it only has the one seam running right down the bottom. And that's important when we're using this method, because when it comes to get the water out, if you've got plenty of pleats and things like that, it makes it very difficult. The water gets trapped, and then when you tip it out, you lose your water. So it's really important. It works much better if you have an unpleated bag. This is a clear plastic bag, food grade bag, and we've put the entire process on how to use the transpiration bag and the trees to select on the printed on the bag itself. And this bag can be used for multiple times. It's a food grade bag, as stated, and we'll go and show you how it works. So when you're putting the bag on the tree, it's very, very important to get as tight and airtight seal as possible. Here. Reason for that being, if you've got a V notch, or say two branches that are like a V and they're not flexible, that's going to create an air gap, and then that water, any water that's produced in the bag can evaporate. So it's very important that you can actually, get beyond the say any branches, so you can get an airtight seal, or in this case the branches are very, very thin and they're flexible, so I could actually tie them together so there's no air gap. I've just shoved a bit of the plastic bag that's on this side in there to stop any evaporation, but other than that it's a pretty good airtight seal. So I've made sure that the point, one of the corners of the bag is down, and the bag is bent down because I want the water to drip and drain to the bottom corner of the bag. I've wound that round with a bit of bank line to get as an airtight seal as possible. That's very, very important. And I've also gotten rid of any sticks and sharp objects, any that are in there, because I don't want to puncture our bag. We've got a good clump of leaves in there. Now, some methods say that you need to create a sump on the end. Now, from lots of experience, I don't find that necessary at all. All it does is just waste valuable space in the bag. And if you've got the branches all tied up in a hose pipe like I have, it's just a superfluous extra measure. It's really just to stop the leaves dropping in there, but if you've got a good yield of water, it's just going to overflow through the sump anywhere. So I find there's no real benefit. At the end of the day, you get a couple of leaves, big deal, you're just getting an extra bit of chlorophyll in your water. There's no drama in doing that. So generally it just saves much more space if you don't put the sump on. But yes, you can do that. We have a picture of the sump on the bag so you can see how that's done. So the leaves are in the bag. It's now going to work, and you can actually see that it's starting to work already. Now, as Murphy's Law has it, the sun's going behind a tree now, just as we've put it up. But that's okay, it's going to get full sunshine in the afternoon. But we can see it starting to work already. So how the process works is all trees suck up water through their root system, through osmosis, through the root system, that then travels up the tree, and that moisture is dispersed into the atmosphere through the leaves. So what we're doing is capturing that dispersal of moisture into the atmosphere by trapping it in a plastic bag. So we have sealed the tree so it becomes a greenhouse. So that water now is being dispersed once again through osmosis, being pumped up through the roots into the trunk, into the leaves, and now it's dispersing into the plastic bag, just like a greenhouse. And what this capturing of that dispersal of moisture, that moisture is going to now condense on the inside of the bag. And once the water droplets get heavy enough, they're going to drop down to the bottom. And depending on the branch you've got, the aspect, you can get anywhere up to, the biggest yield we've had was in one of our Townsville courses where we got 1.6 litres of water in a 24-hour period. But generally 500 to 600 mils is pretty easy to get. Now, not every tree works as well. Some smaller saplings will give a better yield than a bigger tree. You might have a big branch on a large tree that then has the drawing capacity of a larger tree, which will give you a big yield. It all depends. You might have a great tree, but it's in the shade for some of the day and it won't work. There's so many variables at play here. But the main things are get a branch that's in the sun predominantly, north facing in the southern hemisphere below the Tropic of Capricorn, in the sun, and it's a non-toxic tree. Once again, those non-toxic trees, there's many trees, Pursunia around here that will work. There are many trees that will work, but eucalypts and acacias are widespread and common across Australia, and they're great for this. And because we can find them pretty much everywhere, it's a good source of collecting water. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wait until this afternoon, maybe tomorrow, and we'll come back and we'll see what type of yield we get. Hopefully the weather's going to be in our favour and we'll have good sunshine all day. I might change the angle of this so that I know the sun's, it's pretty much, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, or coming up to 11 o'clock, so we're an hour before midday. So the sun's going to be setting in the west, which is over that way, so I'm going to probably change the aspect of this so it's getting that broad face, the plastic bag's getting the broad face of the sun all afternoon. But we'll come back this afternoon and we'll see what we've got. It's been about half an hour and you can see that the water droplets starting to form inside the bag. Well, it's about 2 hours now since we've put this up. It's around coming up to 12:30, and this is working beautifully. We've got full sunshine, so it's just a pretty much 12:30 at daylight saving time, so solar noon isn't for another half an hour. I'm not a big fan of daylight savings, and this is working beautifully. It's condensing nicely, and we've got water, lots of water droplets forming, and they're all running down and collecting at the bottom here. I think we're going to get a nice yield of water by the end of the day, I think. Well, it's about 6:30 in the evening, well, 5:30 in real time, and this bag's been pretty much in the sun, the afternoon sun, all afternoon, and it's been working while we've been resting. And that's the great thing about this method, using a transpiration bag. Once you set one or several of these bags up, you can wait while nature does the work for you. So it's a passive method of obtaining water. That's what makes this so great. So let's have a look and see what we have. Just giving this a shake to get as much of the precious water from the leaves. We could leave this go even longer for another day and get easily double the amount of water that we have there, quite easily, with no damage to the tree. In fact, you can leave the bag on for 2 or 3 days, and I've done that several times without any damage to the tree. The tree's a bit groggy and it just comes back to life after a couple of days, but other than that there's no damage to the tree. But beyond 4 days I wouldn't be using the same branch. I'd go and find another branch and let it recuperate, and then you can come back and use the same tree again and again. But it's looking pretty good. Now we've got two options in getting the water from this. Is we can either cut a hole in the bottom here and let the water drain out and then tape up the hole and let it go back into production again, or we can take the whole bag off and tip it out. That doesn't really matter. But one-on-one, it's easier to actually puncture the bag and get the water out of that. It's going to be a lot easier than it is taking the bag off and trying to balance in that, because you tend to spill the water. Well, I've decided to use my knife and puncture the bag and get the water that way, because it's too hard to take the bag off, fill this bottle and film it at the same time. So it's going to be a lot easier to show you this method. And if I was using the tree over and over again, I can let this go into production once I've drained it, just seal the hole up again, tie it up, and it goes into production again. So let's have a look and see how much we've got. Well, that's about 200 mils. Sorry, 300 mils. 300 mils, and that's been on there since around lunchtime, so half a day. Now, if we had that right on first thing in the morning and took it off first thing, tomorrow, we'd have an even bigger yield. But because it's night time, it's not going to go into production anymore until tomorrow, and we've got the direct sunlight on it. But it is a very, very easy method to get to collect water. And this water, as it is drinkable straight off the bat. And it doesn't get any fresher than that. That is beautiful. It's cool, it's fresh, it's just got a chlorophyll taste. It's just, it's beautiful. It really is. If you could freeze this and make ice cubes from it, it would be really taste like something. This is so easy to obtain water this way. It requires no work. You can do nothing. If you had several bags in the car, you could get a good couple of litres. So I said this was just on half a day, just over half a day. If you do want to get these, you can get them through Survival Supplies Australia. They stock the Transpiration bags. And yeah, they're really great. You can use them as shelters as well. So they're multiple use like all plastic bags are. But tastes beautiful. Cheers.